Hope you guys are having a lovely, beautiful day. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ev, and today we are going to be doing a Knits and Babbles. Now, I don't think we've done one of these in the last 2 months, if not almost 3. So it is well enough time to catch up. I kind of got carried away with my summer. Knits and Babbles is a podcast type episode where I talk about what is new in the knitting world for me, new acquisitions, cast-ons, cast-off, a little bit of spinning. This one is going to be for the month of May, June, and July. We're going to cut this one a little bit earlier, and then the next one will be at the end of August for everything I've knit mid-July, August. I think we're just going to hop right into it because boy do we have a lot to catch up on. First one that we're going to talk about today is actually the one that I'm wearing right now, which is this lovely little gem. So this is the Cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Now I finished this up in June, around mid-June. I absolutely love it, and this is the only hand knit sweater I brought with me on my trip to Europe, and it still looks stunning, and I still have, from casting it on, some of the original skein. So this sweater was knit up with Noro Hanui silk, which is a 70% Hanui wool mixed with 30% silk. Noro is a Japanese brand, and I absolutely love their yarn. I love the colors, and this is undyed natural wool. This is just the way that it is spun up. I love their colors, and I love how their yarn feels like hand spun. It is like chunky in some places, thinner in others. You're actually going to even find a little bit of hay sometimes, or little branches, and their colors are just really fun, and it's just like a dream to work up. So this one was color 111, lot A. I'm sorry, it was 65% wool, 35% silk, and it was color 111. For this pattern, I typically, when knitting My Favorite Things knitwear, will knit the extra small. However, once I casted it on and started working up the front portion, I quickly realized that this didn't give the original boxy, oversized fit that the designer called for, and I really wanted like a looser, bigger cardigan. So I went back and I knit up the small. I also noticed that when people are wearing it in the photos on the Ravelry, the shoulder, because it is a saddle shoulder, it dropped a little bit lower than what mine was. So this is the first time I worked up a saddle shoulder, and that's when you kind of start off by knitting the rectangle, which will be the saddle shoulder, and then you pick up along the rectangle stitches for the front, and then stitches for the back, connect the back, and then work till the armholes, and then connect the front panels with the back, and then, you know, continue knitting your cardigan. One thing I love about this cardigan and the collar is before you actually do the ribbing for it, it's just a 1x1 rib, but you actually do a double knitted, like a couple rows, like 2 rows of double knitting before doing the collar, which adds a little separation between the collar and the regular knit. I've seen a lot of patterns have that lately, and I really like it. So I don't know if you can tell because of the yarn choice, but on a flatter, plainer color, it's a lot more obvious. As for the measurements, I knit the required decreases for the sleeve, the required cuff length and body length, but in the end I was left with a little bit of yarn left over. So I had originally 3 skeins for this cardigan, and each skein is 330 meters, which is so and so yards. So I have a little bit left, which is 150 grams. So I'm sure if I was to weigh this, I could quickly figure out how many yards or meters I have left. As for the buttons, I need to re-sew them on again because I keep trying to sew them on with a yarn so that it is a thicker thread, but also so that it's black. But the issue I'm having is the yarns aren't strong enough to hold up these buttons. These are quite wide of a button, and because I'm wearing this cardigan so much, they tend to wear off really easily and just snap off, and the yarn breaks. I only have white thread, but I guess I need to go find a solution for this because my buttons keep falling off. But I honestly really like these buttons. They're kind of like oval, black, very simple buttons. I picked them up when I went to Granville with my parents at Maiwa. I think that was the name of the store on Granville Island. So the next one that I finished in, I think around the same time, is one that you've probably seen if you follow me over on Instagram. If not, I highly recommend you go follow me on Instagram. But it is actually my chicken. So this is my emotional support chicken, and I love her. She's so squishy. This was knit up in a worsted weight. This is a pattern by Annette Garcineau, and it went viral over spring, winter. I don't know. It's been viral for a couple months on Instagram and Ravelry. I knit mine up with some leftover yarn from older projects. So I have two different greens for the tail. One is an Aran weight and one is a lace weight. So there's like a darker green with a lighter green to kind of get that texture. This strap here, and that was Sandnesgarn Duo, a leftover Icelandic wool, and a lace alpaca yarn that I never really used up. Then the white is just some acrylic yarn that I had, just your basic white acrylic yarn. Head was again Sandnesgarn Duo, no, a light fingering that I used for a shawl, which was like a green, and then it is some type of blue. Oh, okay, it's the blue that I used for the shawl that my mom now has, a shawl from the 52 Weeks of Shawl books. And then the beak and the, what are these called? The hair and the little blue. Forget what they're called, but that was just again some scrap sock yarn that I had that I just bunched up together. So my beak is a little bit more yellow than it should be, but I think it works in the end. I love this chicken. So the reason why I was inspired to knit this one up was actually I went to a knitting meetup, my very first one, and the girls that I was sitting across were crocheting chickens, because there's this crochet pattern that if you crochet it on the inside instead of stuffing, you can put a little crochet egg and then a little goose or baby chick inside the egg, and I thought it was really cute, and I don't crochet, so I kind of wanted to have my own chicken. And someone else at another knitting meetup I went to was crocheting mini chickens, and all this chicken talk just made me want my own chicken, so here we go. And as of now, there is even a bikini for the chicken. If you have already knit this chicken and are looking for something else to add on to it, you can add a little bathing suit top for the summer days. Because can this pattern get more ridiculous? The next knit that I finished is one that I think I was almost done last time, and it is my Vengo socks from the Opal sock yarn collection. So this is based off of one of Vincent van Gogh's painting, and I think this is the painting that was referenced for it. I found a free pattern over on Ravelry, which I will link in the description down below. It is just the direct translation of the pattern inside the sock label, because if you've knit up with Regia or Opal sock yarns, inside the label there is, I think it's a German pattern instruction. I don't know if the Regia has the translation. I don't remember. I think there is an English translation, but the Opal one doesn't. So this yarn is very similar to the Regia sock yarn, and I think it's because they both have 75% virgin wool and then a 25% nylon base, which makes it really stretchy and fun, but it's not super wash, which is super nice. I'm not a fan of superwash wool. I'm realizing I kind of prefer like a more grippy yarn, it just feels more woolly, as in superwash tends to lean because it's so shiny and sheen. The stitches I find look a little bit glossy, but it also starts to feel a little bit like acrylic sometimes when you knit it up. It's a personal preference, but it's also depending on the yarn itself. Different superwashes feel differently, if that makes sense. The only thing I had to do when knitting them up was actually to get them to line up, because the yarn isn't 100% matching. So this is a self-striping, so you don't have to do anything for the color work, but all I had to do was at the end of my first sock, pull till I got till about, like I thought it was going to be matching. So I think I did pretty good. I did have to cut, I think it was at along the middle of the leg, and pull a little further, get a little bit ahead, because for some reason the color was just treadling behind. So I did that at about the heel, and then I think I did it again closer to the edge of the foot, because this beige portion just was a little bit longer than on this sock. So my toes, if you were to count each individual row and stitch, they don't line up. But honestly, I think, meh, who cares? No one's gonna know, except if I tell them like this. So the next one that I want to talk to you guys about is going to be really quick, because I've talked about this one so many times before in different videos, but it is the Petaluma Kerchief. So this is a headband. I've knit 3 now. This is mine. I knit the exact same one for my mom, and then I knit the exact same one but in black for my sister, and I gave it to her when I went to Italy. This is a free pattern over on Ravelry, and honestly, it's a really simple, easy knit to knit up. Makes a great gift. It used up about 136 yards or meters if I'm right. So it really doesn't call for a lot of yarn. It's a simple eyelet stitch with yarn overs, knit 2 together, and then increases being worked up every other row. All 3 were knit up with the exact same yarn, which is the Yarn Arts Dream. And this was 70% cotton and 30% rayon if I'm right. Yeah, so it's a summery fiber. So I knit one in April, I knit one in May, and I knit one in June. All right, back to back to back. So I'm not going to talk about the knits that I mentioned in last week's video about my travels to Italy because I feel like we literally just talked about them. So that was the black tank top and the black drawstring bag. If you want to hear more about other patterns that I knit up, I'm going to link it around, but you could go check out last week's video. But this one is the Felice blouse. So this was knit up with 2 strands of mohair held together, and I think this was knit up on US 9, which is 5.5 millimeter needles. So it is quite of a loose, chunky, like squishy, fluffy yarn. This honestly feels like a cloud, and it looks like one too. The sleeves are beautiful, and it has this really fun repeating detailing on the sleeves, but then all over the main body. So what is really fun about this knit is that you can wear it back to front, front to back, and then you have 2 little tassels here that you can tie together either in the front or the back, or just leave them open. So this is a layering piece, and that is just what I wanted because this mohair is soft, but because mohair tends to be a little bit itchy on the direct to skin, like skin to knit contact. However, this mohair here is actually really, really nice. It is the Tofino Knit Company mohair. It was their mermaid mohair, and I don't think I have the label. But yeah, it was their mermaid mohair. I tried to look on their website, and they don't currently have this exact one anymore. I don't think they make this color anymore, but if you guys haven't checked out Tofino Knit Company, I highly recommend you do. This is the second time I used their mohair for a knit, and honestly, it feels really nice, really squishy. It definitely feels a lot better than the Drops Kid Silk mohair, like to the feeling. I don't have my Knitting for Olive mohair anywhere, so I can't really feel it to that, but just off my, like by memory, it feels really, really nice. I could probably wear this directly on my skin. But yeah, I chose a layering piece for mohair because mohair tends to be a little bit itchy, especially not at first, but like as you wear things and wear it during the day. If you get a little warm, mohair can be really uncomfortable, like really, really quickly. So that's why I wanted a loose layover piece. So the fact that this is such an oversized and like the gauge is relatively wide, I thought that that would be great for just as throwing on just to look a little fancier, a little nicer. So this was knit on US 9, which is 5.5 millimeter needles. So again, big needles, loose, a bit of a looser gauge, and it worked up super, super quickly. I don't think I've knit on needles that big in a really, really long time. Another thing that ended up happening while knitting this one up is the sleeve decreases. I had to rip back one full sleeve and knit it up again because it said knit 3 rows and then decrease. So in the next one you decrease. But what I was doing, sorry, I have a fiber, like knit 3 rows and then decrease. But what I was doing instead was on the 3rd row decreasing. So I ended up decreasing 1 stitch too early, and if you look, the sleeve tapers quite a lot. So basically I was missing 1.5 inches on my sleeve, even though I had done the correct amount of decreases and was at the correct amount of stitches before doing the little lace repeat and then the sleeve. So I just went back and ripped it back, and honestly this mohair wasn't that much of a pain to rip up. It ripped up really, like not ripped, but it frogged really, really easily. This was just a really fun knit, honestly. Okay, so I think that's it for the finished knits, which means that I finished 3 headbands, 2 sweaters, well, a sweater and a cardigan, a chicken, a sock. So that's 7 knits, which right now looking at it doesn't seem like a lot, but at the same time seems like a ridiculous amount. Camisole number 9, which I started in March, a long time ago. But I'm proud to say that I now have the collar sewn on and the bottom. So all I have to do is the armholes, the sleeves, and we'll see, well, the sleeve bands, and I guess we'll see how long that takes. Collar was sitting for around 2 months, but it took about 2 days to knit up. So I think it's just the sheer like mental, like knowing I'm gonna be knitting on such tiny needles because it calls for US 0, which is 2 millimeters. I might be confusing those numbers. I'm gonna list it here, but it calls for really small needles, and I keep pushing it. I keep putting it off. It's also the fact that it's on black yarn. I can barely see what I'm doing. And when it came to sewing the collar folded over, because you fold the collar at the front, I was literally just like playing a guessing game because it is very hard for me to see. Same with the bottom. Even though I've had put a thread, a colored thread, to help guide me, which the pattern recommends you do, it was still very hard to see. So I only knit on this one during the day when I have the courage to. So who knows how long it'll take me to do the armholes. And that is true. I am knitting this one in, do I have the yarn? I do have yarn, but there's no label. I am knitting this one in a Drops yarn. Is it Lima? No. I think it might be Drops Nord that I'm knitting this one in. So this is supposed to be a sock yarn, so it's a more woolly, it's a bit thicker and warmer than your summer tank top, which is probably why I'm not dying to finish it, because I know that even if I did, I couldn't wear it this summer. That would have to wait for fall and winter. The next knit that I am currently working on is actually reworking up because I had to do more math and figure something out. I've changed a little bit of the design, but it is a pattern by myself, and I've actually done a little bit of redesign, which is why this one is taking me a little bit longer. The redesigning is basically just the way that I split up the stitches for the body and changing from 1 raglan stitch to 2. If you guys remember, I think it was in February, I knit the first everyday sweater, and this is going to be my second one, and I think I prefer this version, although I put it on the side for a little while because it took me so long to find this yarn combination. I had a really hard time finding, like, basically I started off with a different DK yarn and I had a really hard time matching a mohair to it, and then when I thought this mohair matched the previous DK weight I was using, it didn't, and I somehow stumbled upon this one, which is the Cumbria Co yarns. It is a wool, silk, and cashmere blend, and then I'm holding it with a mohair. Now this is the Tinlin mohair, but basically it took me so long to match these two together and finally start casting on the project. And of course it is summer right now, so this isn't the project I gravitate towards the most, and if you can tell, I've been knitting a lot of wintry stuff this summer for some reason. I'm trying to finish off things on my list. Honestly, right now I think that it looks beautiful, just like this yarn texture and combination. It works up really, really well, and I'm just gonna keep going at it. So I have the collar, I did the short rows, and I'm starting on the yoke right now with the new addition and the new look. It's not that much different, but it's just a little bit different. So finally, the last knit that I'm currently working on is a brand new knit, which I'm very excited for because over the weekend I went to Wet Coast Wool with a friend and I picked up some lovely green yarn. Now this is really not my usual cup of tea, cup of green. It is more of like a Shrek green, I guess, or a lime green. It is Lin by Sadness Yarn, which is 55% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And this is the first time I'm using this yarn. So the pattern that I'm knitting up is supposed to be using only cotton, but this green just like pulled my attention, and I thought that having a little bit more viscose and linen would make the knit more interesting. And that knit is, of course, a skirt. So if you guys watched my plans for the summer, one of them is to knit up a skirt before my trip to Turkey in September, and I have officially started. So this is what it looks like. Right now I just did the bandeau and I've started the repeat for the main body, and I think it's working up really, really well. I can't wait to have more than an inch of skirt. It is currently being worked up on US 8, which is 5mm needles. Just in the round, it's a very simple one stitch. You just keep doing repeats in a circle, and that's pretty much it. The only thing that was a little bit tricky was I did have to make the band, the elastic band, wider because the elastic I currently had was, I think, double the size that they recommended. And I saw even on Ravelry a couple other knitters actually knit the elastic band wider as a preference, and I kind of liked it. So I think I doubled the elastic band. Some people went and knit an even wider waistband. So I currently have about 5 of these skeins. They each run 110 meters, and I am working up the size medium because that was the size based on my waist measurement that would fit. So that is what we're doing. I think the small would fit, but it was like really tight, and I feel like if I'm on a trip, I'm going to be eating a lot, so might as well have something a little bit looser than too tight. So I think that that's currently it for what I'm knitting on. In terms of acquisitions, I've kind of, other than this grain yarn, I kind of showed you what I got last week. And in terms of spinning, this month was the Tour de Fleece, which I missed the first 4 days because I was traveling. And then I started the second week super like running, spinning, everything was going super, super well. And then I just kind of slowly slowed down and got back into knitting. Spinning for me really comes in like waves. So I did spin on my main spin, which is, you can kind of see it right there for my sweater spin, which I hope to have an update soon, a video release soon. Tour de Fleece is to go along with Tour de France, which is the cycling event. I think it goes 3 weeks in the month of July. So basically, as long as they cycle, you spin yarn. If you can sign up to be on teams with other spinners and just like support each other, and then basically everybody tries to spin as much as they can. This year I joined the de-stasher from Melly Knits to basically spin up as much as you can in your own stash of fiber. So I did finish, and this is the first time I'm showing this on camera, this lovely spin. This was the only spin I finished in the Tour de Fleece. And honestly, for my first time participating in this event, I'm really, really proud because this was entirely spun up on Drops Nord, cardigan number 9, Drops Nord. But it was entirely spun up on a supported spindle. I had 2 bats, one of 75 grams and one of 78 or so grams. So one bat was a little bit bigger than the other, and I spun it on this. Literally, as I was filming, I just got my long way Homestead delivery, so we can look at that afterwards. What I ended up doing was I spun one of the bats on my supported spindle, put it on a storage bobbin that looks like this, spun the second one, and then I plied them both on my spinning wheel to be a little bit faster. So I did finish it off on my electric wheel. But in total, I think each skein is 100 yards, and then this one is 20 yards. So I have 320 yards of a worsted. So it's about a DK worsted, if I remember correctly. Then I have a couple other spins that I'm working on. So the first one is one that I'm working on with my drop spindle. Now I did lend the drop spindle to a friend so that she could test it out because she's really interested in learning how to spin. But I was working up this beautiful fiber on it, which is 50% merino wool and then 50% silk. And I just, before giving it to her, put it on a storage bobbin. So this is what my storage bobbins look like. I picked them up off Amazon. A couple of people have asked me where I get them, so I'm going to link it down below. But it's just like a cardboard storage bobbin, and it allows me to do just that. Basically, my friend now can use the spindle, and since I'm working on other things, not lose where I am in my spin, but also be able to change when I want to. Now I have a couple of these because I am also working on, now this is another storage bobbin, and this is the spin I'm currently working on, but this again is the same fiber but dyed. This one was a pencil roving from Sanjo Silk. Again, it was 50% merino wool and 50% silk, but this one is just a really fun color. So this is what the pencil roving looks like. It is a lot more purple. Here there's a really big chunk of yellow, but it was a lot more purple and red than yellow. Because I'm working on my big spin for my sweater, for the Tour de Fleece, I mainly focused on my supported spindle spin. I wanted to really practice more my supported spindle spinning, and I thought that it would be much more challenging on myself to focus mainly on that one, so that's why the majority of my time went to the supported spindles. Which now means I'm literally opening this with you guys. This is a very first, like this is a true unboxing. So this isn't the first time I'm doing a Long Way Homestead subscription. I did start their yarn subscription last year, and I do have the skeins. I just never, I don't remember why. I kind of stopped subscribing to them. However, ooh, yes, yes. So basically what I subscribe to, because I'm getting into a lot of spinning things, is the fiber subscription. So every month for 12 months, for a year exactly, it doesn't go longer than that, you can sign up to their Breed of the Month subscription, and it is like a fiber school where you get a different type of fiber sent to you in a vacuum sealed bag, and then like you spin it into a skein and you learn about the fiber, so you get a little tag like so. And what I thought would be really fun is once I have a couple of these, I could do a series, maybe after my big spin, I could do a series where we go through each sheep breed. We could learn together different sheep breeds, different wool fibers, and figure out which type of wool is best for what type of spin or what type of project. And the first one I got is the Shetland wool. And this is just a 4-ounce Shetland roving. So I'm not going to open this right now because I don't have a particular storage to put this in. I might open it a little bit later. If so, I'm going to put a picture here. But yeah, I thought that this would be really, really fun. So I think that that was a fun way to end the video. A great little surprise, honestly, right as I'm filming this. But I hope you guys have a lovely, beautiful day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later. But I hope you guys have a lovely, beautiful day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later.